Welcome to another reading of 1001 Nights. My name is Saman Gerard and I'll be your host this evening. And this is Burton. She might be a host too. The music you hear in the background is Kamyab Sadiri. Thanks for the likes, I guess that's for Burton. Let me just try and get a cushion. Maybe I can get her comfortable. Hold on a second. Well, clearly, it wasn't as comfortable as she thought. All right, let's start all over, right? Good evening. That was Burton. Thank you so much for the flowers. Hi, Rani. My name is Saman Gerard, and I'll be your host this evening for another reading of 1001 Nights. Many of you know that Joanna and I started reading in March, and we are reading the most extensive, longest, and also known as the most beautiful translation of the books of 1001 Nights. Tonight marks a very, very special night because we are finishing volume 3, I believe, which is 1 out of 17 volumes in total. And we would like to invite you for a very special reading this upcoming Saturday. So please mark your calendars. Saturday, December 12th. Live from the Hotel Pali Hansen Kempinski, together with Kamyab and Bijan, who will be providing original music for our project. What else? What you see right now, the lighting is different and the frame is a little bit different, and that is because Vienna Theatre Project, Joanna Godwin-Seidel, provided us with the lamps, which I'm very, very grateful for. So this all looks so much more beautiful, and you can finally see my Christmas tree over there and the flowers over here and the big giant plant over there. And as you could tell, Burton was thrilled by the lights too. So tonight's going to be a very, very short night. And yeah, let's just start with that, shall we? Now when it was the 236th night, she said, "It hath reached me, auspicious king, that when he reached the city, the shades of evening closed around him, and the gate shut. Now by the decrees of fate and man's lot, this was the very city wherein he had been a prisoner, and to whose king his brother Amjad was minister. When Asad saw the gate was locked, he turned back and made for the burial ground, where, finding a tomb without a door, he entered therein and lay down and fell asleep, with his face covered by his long sleeve. Meanwhile, Queen Marjana, coming up with Bahram's ship, questioned him of Asad. Now the Magian, when Queen Marjana overtook him with her ships, baffled her by this artifice and gramarye, swearing to her that he was not with him and that he knew nothing of him. She searched the ship, but found no trace of her friend. So she took Bahram and, carrying him back to her castle, would have put him to death. But he ransomed himself from her with all his good and his ship, and she released him and his man. They went forth from her, hardly believing in their deliverance, and fared on 10 days' journey till they came to their own city, and found the gate shut, it being eventide. So they made for the burial ground, thinking to lie the night there and going round about the tombs as fate and fortune would have it, saw the building wherein Asad lay wide open, whereat Bahram marvelled and said, I must look into this sepulchre. Then he entered and found Asad lying in a corner fast asleep, with his head covered by his sleeve. So he raised his head, and looking in his face knew him for the man on whose account he had lost his good and his ship, and cried, What, art thou yet alive? Then he bound him, and gagged him without further parley, and carried him to this house, where he clapped heavy shackles on his feet, and lowered him to the underground dungeon aforesaid, prepared for the tormenting of Muslims. And he bade his daughter by name Bostan torture him night and day, till the next year, when they would again visit the mountain of fire, and there offer him up as a sacrifice. Then he beat him grievously, and locking the dungeon door upon him, gave the keys to his daughter. By and by, Bostan opened the door and went down to beat him, but finding him a comely youth and a sweet face with arched brows and eyes black with nature's cold, she fell in love with him and asked him, What is thy name? My name is Asad, answered he. Whereat she cried, Mayest thou indeed be happy as thy name, and happy be thy days. Thou deservest not torture and blows, and I see thou hast been injuriously entreated. And she comforted him with kind words, and loosed his bonds. Then she questioned him of the religion of Al-Islam, and he told her that it was the true and right faith, and that our Lord Muhammad had approved himself by surpassing miracles and signs manifest, and that fire worship is harmful and not profitable. And he went on to expound to her the tenets of Al-Islam till she was persuaded, and the love of the true faith entered her heart. Then, as Almighty Allah had mixed up with her being a fond affection for Asad, she pronounced the two testimonies of the faith, and became of the people of felicity. After this, she brought him meat and drink, and talked with him, and they prayed together. Moreover, she made him chicken stews, and fed him therewith, till he regained strength, and his sickness left him, and he was restored to his former health. Such things befell him with the daughter of Bahram, the Magian. And so it happened that one day she left him and stood at the house door, when behold, she heard the crier crying aloud and saying, Whoso hath with him a handsome young man, whose favour is thus and thus, and bringeth him forth, shall have all he seeketh of money. But if any have him and deny it, he shall be hanged over his own door, and his property shall be plundered, and his blood go for naught. Now Asad had acquainted Bostan bin Bahram with his whole history. So when she heard the crier, she knew that it was he who was sought for, and going down to him told him the news. And he fared forth and made for the mansion of the vizier, whom when Asad saw, he exclaimed, By Allah, this minister is my brother Amjad. And he went up, and the damsel walking behind him, to the palace, where he again saw his brother, and threw himself upon him. Whereupon Amjad also knew him, and fell upon his neck, and they embraced each other, whilst the vizier's Mamelukes dismounted and stood round them. They lay a while insensible, and when they came to themselves, Amjad took his brother and carried him to the Sultan, to whom he related the whole story. And the Sultan charged him to plunder Bahram's house. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Burton, curious as usual, and my name is Samanjurat. Now when it was the 237th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the Sultan ordered Amjad to plunder Bahram's house and to hang its owner. So Amjad dispatched thither for that purpose a company of men who sacked the house and took Bahram and brought his daughter to the vizier, by whom she was received with all honour. For Asad had told his brother the torments he had suffered and the kindness she had done him." It's okay. Thereupon, Amjad related in his turn to Asad all that had passed between himself and the damsel, and how he had escaped hanging and had become vizier. And they made moan each to other of the anguish they had suffered for separation. Then the Sultan summoned Bahram and bade strike off his head, but he said, "O most mighty king, art thou indeed resolved to put me to death?" Replied the king, "Yes, except thou save thyself by becoming a Muslim." Quoth Bahram, "O king, bear with me a little while." Then he bowed his head groundwards, and presently raising it again, made profession of the faith and Islamized at the hands of the Sultan. They all rejoiced at his conversion, and Amjad and Asad told him all that had befallen them. Whereat he wondered and said, "O my lords, make ready for the journey, and I will depart with you and carry you back to your father's court in a ship." At this they rejoiced and wept with sore weeping, but he said, "O my lords, weep not for your departure, for it shall reunite you with those you love, even as were Ni'amah and Naomi." "And what befell Ni'amah and Naomi?" asked they. "They tell," replied Bahram, but Allah alone is all-knowing, "the following tale of." And this, ladies and gentlemen, was the end of volume 3. I hope you enjoyed the evening. Hi, Joanna. Yes, it is a lovely light. You have to watch the reading from the beginning because I did thank you. So I did announce our special reading for December 12th, this Saturday, at the beautiful Hotel Hans in Kempinski. Please tune in. And other than that, Joanna will read tomorrow something that's dear to her heart, which I will then continue the day after tomorrow, whichever day that is. Friday we will not have a reading because we will postpone it to Saturday for the special reading. So stay tuned. And Burton is saying hello. Do you want to say hi again? Do you want to say hi? People love you. They send you so many hearts. Let me see if she can say goodbye. Come here. She's always complaining, don't you worry. Say bye. Good night, everyone. Good night.